Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special council meeting of July 31st. Before we begin, the District of Metchosin works to be increasingly mindful of its commitments to be a more inclusive government with its neighbours. I would like to acknowledge our neighbouring First Nation governments with whom we are committed to building stronger working relationships. The Shiano First Nation and the Sip First Nation. I also want to say many thank yous to the firefighters, both Metchosin and Mutual Aid, who responded to the Souk Old Man Fire, and the firefighters that continue to keep the fire contained and keep us protected. With that, Council, before you, we have the agenda for approval. We've got 3 sets of pinks, so we'll put them as number 4, new business, other business, the Cougar Coordination Letter, Community Advisory Group, correspondence regarding the main entrance, the active transportation plan update, and correspondence on the main entrance. That'll be number 4. With that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Schuken, second by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving right along to the Rising Report. This is appointment of officers and employees that Council rescind the appointment of Bob Pyatt as Chief Financial Officer, and that Council appoint Jeffrey Creek as Chief Financial Officer for the District of Metchosin in accordance with Section 149 of the Community Charter, and that Council release this resolution to the public. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Amp. Questions? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. With that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Jeffrey Creek, our Chief Financial Officer, to the District of Metchosin. Welcome. We're returning to the reports. We have 3B on page. Oh, sorry.
We've just skipped past public participation.
Oh, I did. I launched right into it. My apologies. We'll backtrack here and go to, thank you, Ms. Hanson. We'll go to public participation. Sorry about that. If members of the public wish to speak, you have 4 minutes. There's a light in front of you that will blink with maybe 30 seconds left, yellow, and red when your time is up. So with that, if anybody wants to speak, state your name and your road.
Jim McPherson, Eagle Tree Place. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. At the last regular council meeting, council had decided unanimously to put back until the fall further discussion about the village plan and the entrance to the old school, even though it was acknowledged that that discussion would cost $17,000. Council has brought this matter forward to tonight. The council report submitted is the same report that was presented at the last council meeting, except that the dates have changed. What is new that the matter has been brought forward to tonight? And brought forward in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the holiday season, at a time when opportunity to participate is somewhat less than other times. It looks like council is maybe trying to push something through. I hope this is not the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barb Swatsky, 4713 Kabir Road. Mayor and Council, I strongly oppose the construction of a new front entrance for Metchosin School, an unnecessary bill that I doubt not one taxpayer in the community has ever requested. Taxpayer, not resident, because taxes pay for projects, so taxpayers should have a louder voice than renters. At this time, Metchosin School does not need more money poured into it for unwanted projects. What it does need are tenants to pay for upkeep and utilities. The CAO should be aware how much the school costs taxpayers every year, so should concentrate his efforts on filling the empty rooms with paying tenants and taking care of necessary items of importance, such as upgrades to the school's septic system, and better outdoor lighting. If council sincerely wishes to make the school more attractive, remove the mess outside the gym. It looks like an ICBC compound. If thousands of dollars are in need of spending on projects for the community, for heaven's sakes, buy some microphones for council chambers, something the public has been requesting for years. And if doors at the school are difficult to find, install signage.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
The microphone's working. I'm amazed. Wendy Mitchell, 580 Woody Beach Road. I'll just read my little thing out here. On July 23rd, Councillor Gray moved an amendment to the request for the proposal of the Fire Hall feasibility section 141 to include OCP growth projections. Now, Councillor Shukin spoke to this amendment saying, quote, "I'm not going to support this amendment. The more I look at our OCP, I'm of the understanding it's very dated, almost backward looking, and we're going to go through a change next year. I don't want to be mired in a document that's hard to understand." That's at video 39 minutes. Every one of you on this council said you had read, understood, and supported the OCP when you were elected and standing for election. So what does this change going through next year? Why is Councillor Shukin going to be mired down by the OCP? What's hard to understand with our OCP? Perhaps this council should have a study group to refresh their support and understanding of the OCP. And where is the transparency you all complained about the lack of in the last council? How have you increased the transparency of council by having meetings at 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. in the middle of summer? And most importantly, what is this change next year that Councillor Shukin has let out of the bag? Does this change involve the OCP? I say shame on you. To where?
Councillor Shukin, did you want to respond very briefly?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mayor Little. The points I made at the last meeting about the OCP and being backward looking, I just want to reference a few points. So the date of the bylaw acknowledging the OCP comes from 1995, so that's 29 years ago. The population projections, that there's a reference to a 2006 census, so that's 18 years ago. There's numerous references in the OCP to it having to be updated every 5 years, and that has not happened. So those are some of the points I was trying to make in terms of the document being dated and essentially backward looking. Now, in terms of, and Ms. Mitchell might be right, that I maybe jumped the gun in terms of what changes may be needed. But we are, by provincial legislation, we are going to have to go through a housing needs assessment. And from that, we are going to have to make modifications to our land use bylaw and our OCP to address the gaps that are seen from that housing needs assessment. Now, again, Ms. Mitchell may be right. I may be presuming some outcome that isn't the case. But the one thing I do know is the housing needs assessment that was done in 2021 showed a gap of 131 homes. I'm not expecting that to be a big change from the one that's coming up. So again, those are the points that I'm referencing in terms of the OCP and what change may be necessary. And again, I agree with Ms. Mitchell. I may have jumped the gun. There may be some changes needed, but I think the likelihood is pretty strong. So thank you very much.
Okay, does anybody else wish to speak at public participation?
This is Nicole Shukin, Le Bon Road resident. I just want to give a few thank yous. First of all, to CEO Bob Payette. We had a rock cliff, like a rock face on Upper Le Bon Road, just slough off a couple of weeks ago. It threw rocks, like I don't know what the volume of rock was that fell onto the road. But that rock was really quickly removed. There's now a public road safety sign that's been installed, so I just really appreciate the speed with which that was responded to by staff. And I wanted to thank Mayor Little especially, and also all of council and staff, including paid and volunteer firefighters who put on such a great volunteer event earlier this month. The band was awesome. I was there, lots of people were dancing, so it was just a really great event. And I also want to thank council, those of you on council who voted to proceed with the feasibility study for the fire hall. You know, we live up at the end of Laban. Our well runs dry every summer. We have no fire hydrant in the neighborhood, and when the Old Man Lake fire started burning and we were hearing news of the fires ripping through Jasper, it just really came home to me how in a climate emergency to short shrift an emergency facility and emergency services is just wrong-minded. So I think there has to be this balance between investing in emergency services and being fiscally responsible. So I felt like council did that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening?
Good evening, Carol Carmen, 4278 Happy Valley Road. Good evening all. I haven't been to many of these meetings, but the word that keeps coming up is community. And community is the OCP is a pretty important way to go. And communities, by definition, are multi-generational. And so when we start talking about doors to a preschool or something like that, we got to think. One of the things I've learned about living in Metchosin for the last 35 years is that because we are within 20 miles of 2 universities, a community college, a capital city, and all the hereditary knowledge of multi-generational farms and First Nations, we probably have more knowledge per acre than any community of which I could think. And so what we need to do is make sure that all generations are welcomed and well attended, whether they're quote taxpayers or quote renters. Most renters pay part of the taxes too, whether they know it or not. Anyway, thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Sarah Anthony, Metchosin Road. I also kind of want to address this issue. I'm hearing a lot of comments lately about the validity of the voice between renters and property owners online and in this room. And I find it a little offensive. Never mind the fact that it is antithetical to the practice of democracy in general. This is not the 1700s, where white males, landowners, were the only people whose voice mattered. We all get a vote. That's been fought for centuries. So all our voices do matter. I mean, we all, like Carol said, we all do pay taxes in some way. We all pay provincial taxes, which fund certain projects here. For renters, if the property tax goes up, your rent is probably going up. This would probably also be compensated more so, though, of course, if more of the properties with, so quote-unquote illegal suites were legal and could be assessed. That would probably go a long way. But I mean, I do think that most of council are pretty good at recognizing everybody's voices and listening, so this isn't so much directed at you guys. But it would be nice if maybe we could feel a little bit of that love a little bit more and know that that was in fact true, for sure true. Sorry, I'm changing a little bit. It really is a kind of harsh reality to hear that people think that and don't feel that other people's opinions are valid or matter. We all live in this community, and the things that happen here affect us. And I certainly agree that there are certain things we shouldn't be spending money on. We don't have a lot of money. But I think in the case of the Village Square, we are in a unique position here where they're offering to do a lot of work for free, and that is worth considering because that's not going to come along all the time. So I do think that's important. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. I think I can say on behalf of council that all opinions in Metchosin are valid and are welcome, and we are striving to be a more inclusive community and everybody's welcome and their opinions, no matter how varied. Anybody else wish to speak?
Hi, it's June Reimer, Marydale Road. It's just something Nicole said about the volunteer appreciation evening. So this is totally, it was awesome. Like, it was such a great thing, and I really hope you keep doing it. But I will say one thing about it. Everything I saw about it said it was a volunteer appreciation. And my friend Jill and I actually went with great trepidation, hoping not to be seen, because I used to volunteer all the time, but I don't always volunteer anymore. I went, maybe I can go because I'm going to council meetings, that's volunteering. But because of the name, and I did see it in the Gazette and elsewhere, but I would wonder if next year when you have it, that just, if you need to call it that, because that's what gives it the finance, like it's written up and you get money for it or whatever, could you add that it is not only for volunteers? Because it really, I've heard other people say that too, and I think that's why not a lot of people came. Because it was, you know, it's for other members of Metchosin, whether you volunteered in the past or you may in the future, we would like you all to come. Okay?
Thank you.
It was so great. I'm so glad we came. So I thought I wasn't maybe going to say that. I could write you letters quietly, so because it's not meant to be a complaint at all. It was wonderful, but because we felt that way, I'm sure there may have been others that felt it too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric White, 4290 Metchosin Road. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Mayor for acknowledging the striving for democracy. That's good to hear that our council is doing that. I'd like to talk about the Duke Road Trail. As a person who doesn't live in the Duke Road Trail, but as someone who has a financial vested interest in it as being part of the corporation of Metchosin, my opinion is it's a great idea to go forward with the trail if it's a mathematically, financially sound idea, whereas in I assume adding a trail to a neighborhood will add value to the homes in that neighborhood, therefore raising the tax dollars, therefore raising the revenue of our community, thus being hopefully revenue positive. And that's my only concern, is as long as the revenue or the trail is revenue positive, go for it. If not, please consider it if it's financially feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else, we'll move on to page 5 of your council agenda. We have a report from Mr. Payette. First of all, I'd like to say that indeed we have discussed this matter previously, and council decided that they wanted to have a site visit. We did that earlier this week. And under section 131 of the community charter, the mayor may request that the council reconsider and vote again on a matter that was subject of a vote. And this is to be done at the same meeting or within 30 days. Hence, this is why I've asked for this to be added this evening for rediscussion. Okay, Mr. Payette, did you want to say anything more further to this?
Okay, thanks through the chair. It's true that the report is similar. We moved the dates on it for the record. What isn't in the report is that council met on site to have a good look, touch and feel of the situation, get a perspective on site, which I thought was valuable. And also, subsequent to that, if we're going to move ahead, now we're starting to build the budget documentation for 2025, so to get an architect on site and get fulsome, accurate costing will take some time, and if we're going to get into the 2025 budget, this is the time to move ahead, or not. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, great. Councillor Peck.
I'd like to start with by moving that council approve the front entrance concept with the three-phase approach and direct staff to hire an architect consultant at not more than $20,000 using the gas tax reserve.
This is a motion by Councillor Eck. It's seconded by?
I'll second for discussion.
Seconded by Councillor Shukin. Councillor Eck, go ahead.
Yes, well, I did mention at the last meeting about all the money that taxpayers put into the West Shore Parks and Recreation, which is a wonderful facility with just an endless variety of things to do. But there doesn't seem to be too much concern there about that facility breaking even or making a profit or being economically viable, because it is a community service. And that's what I feel that the school is as well. There's a lot of talk about trying to make it economically viable by getting it all rented. However, our staff right now is doing the best they can to try to do that. But then when we try to, say, get a part-time manager that could actually work on advertising and promotion and create a website and getting that done, then again it comes up, well, it's going to be cost too much money or create more tax dollars. This particular, the entrance, when we had our site visit, it was really good. We did speak to representatives from the preschool, and they were quite definite that the entrance out the front was where they wanted to have the kids go for pickup and drop off, not the other doors. And that they would probably try to go ahead with a door there if this didn't move forward. They do have the $17,000 grant, which may or may not be able to be used for the district proposed doorway, but they are trying to get an extension for that. So the safety concerns were not really an issue at all for the preschool. And to have a decent entrance at the school, I think is really important as far as in the promotion of it as a facility that people will want to rent and use on a regular basis. I think the plan is a good one. Now this is a brand new society that has offered a huge amount of money and time and energy to put into this that would really limit the cost to taxpayers of moving ahead with the whole entrance plan. I know they're new and it's a proposal, but we depend in Metchosin, we depend on other groups, we depend on the Equestrian Society to look after the ring, the Museum Society to look after the museum, the Community Association to look after Community House, and MACA to look after their facilities. So I think that this is a bit of a leap of faith, but I think they have volunteers to do the upkeep on the outside part of the square, and I just think it's a good proposal and a good opportunity for us to take advantage of money, because the other options for entrances also need quite a bit of work to actually get up to standard as far as ramps and entrance and anything that will actually look inviting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shukin.
Sure, thank you, Mayor Little. I've been giving this quite a bit of thought over the last few weeks, and thank you very much to staff for organizing the site visit that we did on Monday. One thing that really strikes me is that we should no longer act like we own and operate a school. It is something very different now, and we need a new direction that reflects this. So what we essentially have is a space that is both commercial, recreational, and an arts and event complex. And everything that I've heard over the last 2 years regarding the school is a desire to move ahead, to turn the page on an unclear and disorganized past. And this is evident by 2 points: that we need more revenue from the school, and we need access to the school, as in even being able to play pickleball in the gym. I'm seeing the development of a new entryway as a continuum in the evolution of thinking about that building. It is no longer a school, and it is a community asset that as yet has unrealized potential. So we need a specific point that welcomes people into the building, particularly the gym, and allows for an actual clear passage through the building. So if we don't invest in that potential, I fear we're going to be just mired and stagnated and moving essentially toward where we've been in the past, an unclear, unorganized past. So is it the right time to begin planning for a new entryway? And I would say yes. Like I said, there is a broad community desire to move ahead with the building. We now have a group of volunteers who have organized themselves and put forward a valid proposal to work in coordination with the district. We have a solid body of reserve funds, including a gas tax and the Growing Communities Fund, which has seldom been accessed over the last many years. a decade perhaps. Should we need those funds? There's a solid base of reserves there. Also, most importantly, we have a community that is expecting this building to be something more than it has been in the past. And I agree, there is the option of doing nothing, but I worry that this is a path to, again, stagnation, of limping along and having the same conversation year over year about why the school is underutilized and why it's costing us so much. So I'm going to vote in support of this, and I say let's move ahead, realizing the potential of the school. Thank you very much.
Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. I was very appreciative to be able to do the site visit with my colleagues and some other community members, and to note that the amount of work that has already gone into the school by the various grants and funding from residents of this community. We bought the school at $1.5 million. We have put in one grant was almost $1 million. We have consultant fees upwards of $80,000 to study it. We had a company in there named Instinct who did a lot of work for us as well. That is in thousands of dollars in lieu of their rent during the time. Floor, painting, beautifying, it is ready to go. The doors are new. There are some accessibility, quite a few accessibility issues that need to be dealt with. We've done a tour, a group of us with the CAO on that. Those are things that I think should be at the forefront before an entranceway. There are several entrances to the school, and as I said at the last meeting, safety is a strong issue. To have children going out into a parking lot, it doesn't seem reasonable to me. I think that going out to the side of the building, which I believe is the west, it's not far from the classrooms actually, to the field where it is fenced, they would be escorted as well. That is reasonable. The handy dart would be needing space to come in the courtyard area or the parking where Maca and the pub is. They need an area of trajectory to move through that. I've never heard anybody so far say anything about the handy dart. Accessibility is important, I'll say again. It does say here in the report about upgrading the septic. We are aware of that. There's some drainage issues. We're aware of those. We have no idea what these costs are. And the outdoor lighting, and those are the things that I'm hoping we will address in the next budget. In the last budget, when all of us were asked by our CAO if we had any ideas or projects in the future, near future, of to put some of our surplus monies to, because we had excess this year. One of the things that I actually requested was wayfinding signs. Anytime you come here on a Sunday or when there's events going on, people know to come to Metchosin, but they do not know where parking is. Then we have festivals in a parking lot, so people are displaced. We have a big green field there, nice grassy field, that could be used for festivals and such, and parking used for parking. We've had residents mention how there is a concern of safe passage. We now have a crosswalk, which, when you look at it from bird's eye view, is in the center of the whole site. It's nicely placed at a place where it's not going to be more congested, so we're starting to move away from that. I thank the staff for doing that. That was well thought out. It is clear we do need commercial tenants. The commercial geographic of the building has shrunk over the years. We have 4 classrooms to be able to rent out. We have a gymnasium that can be rented out. Anytime I've gone into a hotel or a convention, there are signs. You go in a building, they tell you which way the rooms are, where to find things. We have the ability to put a map out to say you are here, where to find places. Again, a wayfinding sign out the front to say what is actually on the property, where the accessibility parking is, where the accessibility ramp is, the washrooms, where certain businesses might be, and those things can change. But to have people come to this community and not know where to go is not welcoming, whether it's the market or the school. So we have spent almost $3 million on a school that's still half empty. We need to be revenue generating, we need to be fiscally responsible in that regard. I don't see us, we've got right now in that one classroom that is yet to be refurbished, all the flooring has been purchased. It is sitting, waiting to be installed. So that is like the last little bit that we need to do for a while. The doors are up to code. Yes, we still got to do accessibility, but I believe that we should not be putting more money into this until we start generating. This year in the budget, we've invested $187,000 and change just to keep the doors open. That's not money coming in, that's costing us. So the taxpayers are paying for that, and I think they'd like to see a return on their investment. So I will not be supporting this motion as read earlier.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Gray.
I had a couple of questions to the CEO through the chair, if I might. I really like the Village Square proposal, and I'd like to support that. But I was wondering, I certainly appreciate the offer of volunteer labor and the ambitious $22,000 fundraising from the society wants to put in. But Mr. Pyatt, the startup cost of $3,000 that we're being asked for in cash, what would be the source of that funds? Those funds?
Say that again. What
The proposal is for the Village Square is that the district have capital expenses of $3,000, and I just wonder where we would source those funds.
For the Village Square?
Yeah.
We would support with $3,000? Is that what it says?
That's what it says, yes.
It would come from the funding that was approved for the facility during budget time. So there's, I'll have to go by memory, operating budget money for minor improvements, and then there's a capital amount for $75,000. Yeah.
So it would come out of the $75,000 amount,
Well,
figuring?
$3,000 is not really capital. It's more minor, so I'm not sure. It could. Depends on how finance decides to.
Yeah, we're putting in $187,000 per year to keep the lights on at the moment for this year. So that would be an additional $3. The problem is, I guess, it's in the budget's in the negative, so there's no money to pull from anywhere. And that's why I was wondering where the $3,000 would come from. In other words, in the school budget vote, there's not any more money. It's actually so we don't know necessarily. Pardon me, don't understand?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Oh, well, the budget requirement just for the Village Square, I was saying I support that. I'd like to see it happen. It's $3,000. Just wondering where the money would come from to pay for it. And because in operating we're in the negatives, we can't go anywhere to get it out of that budget. If we don't take it from capital.
That would come.
Well, we can move on. I was wondering if we had the money.
Councillor Gray, that would be in the next budget discussions in the capital expenses.
So we'd look to next year, and it wouldn't be capital. The CEO just explained it would be an operating budget that would cost. So it's too small. The other question I had was that we would likely, I think you were saying we'd likely be wise, and I agree with you, to budget the amount for maintenance, which is about $10,000 a year in the proposal. And so that would be next year, and that would come up in next year's budget as well, I imagine. So we'd look for $10,000 additional, and that would be tax revenue, I expect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be in the operating budget. Yeah.
Then my final question was the one about the $75,000, and I sent a note earlier today. What's on the list? We'd committed $75,000 additional for necessary capital expenditures this year at the school. And I remember the septic tank is at the end of life, the tank itself, and we're looking to replace that. Were there other costs in the $75,000? We spent $45,000 at our last meeting. Or, so, sorry, $30,000 the last meeting, so there's $45,000 left of the 75.
Yeah, I have a little list over there, I'll just grab it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm, in terms of what I'm thinking about is I'm kind of with Councillor Shukin here, moving forward the village scale proposal, so we're not, taking more time on that. But I am concerned about the entrance, and I'll speak to that in a moment. I just want to get clear of the finances.
Okay, so, yeah, $75,000 for capital improvements. So I'll just maybe go through a list and talk about some of the items. So in the original sort of review when I got here, there was a number of items, and there still is. It's an old building. Recall that Chris Vander Water had done quite a good job of listing, long-term, short-term, and medium-term maintenance required. And so gleaning from that and some of the work that our staff have done looking at the building, the upkeep of that building is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a number of years to get it up to, something that we would consider new. But on the list, for example, asbestos removal, new skylights, exterior work on the building that wasn't up to code, from some of the work that was done. There was the hallway flooring, 2 times gas furnaces that were done this year already. There's duct work that has to be done, washroom amenities, some out of that 75, a blower, motor, new electrical, hot water tanks ×2, and roof replacement. And so a couple of points in the hallway upgrades, the fire chief was able to extend the grant availability. So that actually is covered under a grant, so that $17,000 is available. And also the roof replacement project. We're having trouble getting a roofing company to town, and as you know, we're trying to do the roof on this building, and we're not getting any success, and so it's very likely that we're going to push that project to that next year as well. So there is available funding in the $75,000 capital budget, and if I need to use it for projects, I can use it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Donaldson?
Thank you. I too am supportive of Village Square, just not the proposed area. I'd like to acknowledge that that was brought out in one of the consultants' drawings. So there are other areas that we can actually do that would be safe and to be using the whole property much better than being congested in one particular area. When we did the site visit the other day, when I was approaching the building, I could not see and this was after we had done the tour, but going back and looking at it, I could actually not see from the street where the entrance would be, because it almost got camouflaged behind the patio area of the pub, just the lineage of it. So it's not highly visible in that regard. It also would be going into an area we've already put money into. We've put the new siding on, we've painted it, we've put brand new windows in. That all came out of the $1 million grant for the gymnasium, kitchen, and washrooms. So it would be unfortunate if we're putting good money after that. I would like to learn more about the Village Square, Metchosin Village Society. As Councillor Eppa said, we have quite a few different societies and user groups. And when they do come to us for supporting a project or funding, they generally show us their finances. And we've not seen that thus far with this group. And I don't know actually who's in the group. I know 2 names, but I don't know the others. And in forming a society, there's a minimum of 5 directors. So I'd really like to learn more about society and what their, how their bank account looks and who they are. It would be helpful for us to have that familiarity. As Mrs. Carmen had said about the multi-generational, that was something also that we have talked about for a number of years in healthy communities when I was there as well, doing consulting with the land story and RC strategies. That came out in the report, and we've talked about it with the community garden, having CERC there, different age of people all through and all walks of life as well. So certainly that is something I'm hoping we will continue to foster. That seems to be, if we ever develop a vision statement. We started a little bit of that, I think, last year when we had a workshop. It would be nice if we had a continuum of that. And that was in the report as well as, you know, some other consultation with our residents. Seems how it's their investment, all residents.
Okay, thank you. You've all made some very good points. I'm looking to support this because I want to look to the future. I'm told that we also need, there is an appetite for some small office space. In the future, we will need office space if we hire a program manager for this site. Our staff, as it is, they really don't have the capacity to manage the school or to look for agents or tenants and manage the school. But I do think that some compelling arguments have been made for this proposal of the main entrance in the village square. I would like us to look to the future, and with that I'll lend my support to that. Go ahead. Councillor Gray.
Thank you. I guess what I'm well, just a comment back up to the site visit. So we went on a site, I don't know who organized the site visit, or it wasn't council so much, but I got a note saying there was a site visit and could I come? And I did attend. And we got new information there, which I think is important the public know about. Our briefing note mentions $17,000 grant received by the preschool, but the note doesn't explain that the $17,000 was awarded for the preschool so it could put in a door from the preschool to the courtyard. And when we attended and spoke to, well, Shannon Carmen was there, Mike Vanderwater and Aaron Vanderwater, we learned the preschool's okay to put in their door, but this new idea came up about maybe don't do that, you know, put in a door that went through the classroom that's currently part of our commercial space, and that would lead directly through to the gym. And the preschool's interested in doing that, I took from the comments made, but that they don't know whether the $17,000 grant, as Councillor Up was saying, could be transferred over to us to do this other door. So they're not sure about that, but they're checking it out, which is great. They also commented they're checking it to see whether it can be extended. And it sounded like the timeline for putting in that door was December or next summer, because they put in when the kids weren't there. I wasn't so sure about why we were meeting about this today, because there's a number of things up in the air, and of course our budget process doesn't start till a little bit later in the fall. But anyway, looking at the need question. So I'm sort of a big supporter of the school being there. I like the idea that we own, operate, and maintain the school as a public asset for our community, as Councillor Shukin was talking about and others have said. But I am concerned about the finances. I ran over those at the last meeting, and really we're quite extended on the school right now. And I'm not interested in spending more money without a plan and a defined need for the spending. When I look at the need, I think it's a neat idea putting a door there for sure. Nothing wrong with the idea, but I think the justification is lacking. So what I'm understanding is the gym would be easier to rent. And then we heard at that little meeting that we had at the site that no efforts have been made to advertise the gym for rent. So we don't actually know if anybody, so we're missing evidence, like an evidence-based decision making. This is conjecture. I understand we have not heard from potential renters on the topic. So it's an idea that would be easier to rent. I think we heard that there's confusion by gym patrons accessing the building. And we could, or we should, put some signs up above the existing doors, low cost. It wasn't that long ago we went through a budget process and we heard a lot of people saying, could we please keep our costs down? And right now, as I say, we're putting almost 187 grand a year into the school, $75,000 capital this year. If we don't get a commercial space rented, that's $75,000 a year on top of those numbers. So keep our costs down, put a sign above the door. So the door that's closest to the road, highly visible, easy to see, a sign could go there that says gym entrance. Or another sign, Councillor Donaldson seeking on the side door, gym entrance. Pretty easy to see from the parking lot. So gym would be easier, I'm not so sure. Confusion about the entrance, well, low cost expenditure could fix that in a moment. And then the proposed location of the door, the main entrance, is easier to see. Well, actually, I agree with Councillor Donaldson, it's not so easy to see. It's off to one side at the back. It may be hidden from view if Mile Zero has its umbrellas up, the patio. So I'm not convinced of the need for the new doorway at this time, although I very much appreciate the idea and the volunteer energy behind it. I'd like to move forward with the Courtyard Village Square program, which doesn't require a door. And I feel like we're kind of overcomplicating the question of getting that Village Square going, which is such a cool notion.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak?
I just want to go back to the question of why now. And to me, I believe that this is a fantastic place for an entry point. I don't see another alternative for that kind of, like in the time I spent with the school, and especially after the site walk. In terms of why now around finances, I think we have a volunteer group that is willing to lend a hand to this. And that, in terms of actual fundraising, boots on the ground, I think is actually going to realize some savings. So we've got that momentum now. And I think we should build on, the momentum that we have in terms of revitalizing the gym, but also the mobilized volunteers that we have as well. So again, notwithstanding Councillor Gray's comments, I think now is a good time, and there's some financial reasons for doing so at this time.
Councillor.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, and also that particular area for the entrance, if you look at the map about the Village Square area, it does have a path that goes, it'll be sort of blocked off across, like the front area there that goes across from the front of the brewery to the other part to the Maca part. So, and that's going to have planters and so on, and they have a path on the map that winds around and will go to the main entrance. I think that will be once it's done with the planters and so on, will be quite visible. The entrance in that spot is, to me, the ideal location because, for one, it goes straight through to the gym without having people or kids or anybody going through. Hopefully, will be a commercially rented area on the other side. It's also will be more easily accessible to the Seniors Association and to the Art Pod and Maca Park, as well as the other side. So it just seems logical.
Councillor Brett?
Just on that final point, when we were there, I asked a number of times, there's fire doors that don't have handles on them. So if you go in through the main entrance as proposed, you turn right to go to the senior center, you can't go through that way because the doors will be always closed and only open from the other side. So it doesn't provide an entrance to the Maca side, I don't believe, when I spoke to the fire chief, and we were all there on that issue. As to the timing, I'm struck that this year, and I think, Mayor Little, was this the first time ever we had a strategic plan? We wrote our strategic priorities. And I looked at, refreshed on it today, develop a vision and effective management plan for the school, find a new commercial tenant for the instinct training space, which includes the classroom, by the way, where that would be cut back. So I got to ask the question, why set the priorities if we don't intend to follow them? We already spent the $2,000 you'd authorized to have the vision session. I don't think we've got a product from that. Should we really be planning on spending more money on the school before we do our homework?
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. With that, I'll call the question on the recommendation that Council approve the front entrance concept of the 3 phase approach and direct staff to hire an architect consultant at no more than $20,000 using the gas tax reserve. All in favor? Those opposed? Councillor Donaldson, Councillor Gray opposed. That motion carries. Moving on to...
Sorry. I wonder if we could ask CAO, Mr. Payette, if he could bring us back at some point a report or comments about the engagement with the Village Square Society about the development of the Village Square. And I recognize that the entryway is probably going to have to be constructed first, but it'd be interesting to just keep the momentum up on the Village Square as well.
I wonder, Mr. Payette had mentioned if we approve at the last meeting, if we approve the architect, that means we will be, and we could ask for clarification, bound to approve the budget later, which we don't know the dollar value yet. I wasn't just clear of those comments what that meant.
CAO Payette.
In other words, did we just decide to carry through to the end regardless of the budget amount?
So tonight we're approving up to $20,000 for the architect. And then we'll get a fulsome understanding of what the costs are for the concept. And that will come forward to council in the budget process for 2025.
And we could decline it then if it was too expensive.
That's correct.
And this is 7 times more than the estimate in the proposal from the Village Center Square people. Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to items 3C, Rogers Communications, it's a verbal update from Councillor. Go ahead, thank you.
There's not a lot of action really from Rogers. He did send me this report talking about the sites that they're hoping to put up towers. We did mention, because we had discussed the possibility of them joining the Crest Tower that's on Rocky Road. However, he said, in their opinion, because that particular one won't connect up to other Rogers or Telus towers, that it wouldn't really be feasible. They have one that they're working on right now, which is near the Albert Head area. It's right pretty much on the border of Colwyn and Metchosin. And so that's his word, as he said, a site we're currently working on co-locating our equipment on an existing cellular tower alongside TELUS. Said this site would have an impact on increasing cell coverage in the Albert Head area. The other tower is, what they're trying to find is land to put up one. It's basically in the Olympic View golf course area. And they would be, hopefully if the word would spread, if there's people there that would be interested in having this tower, which of course they do pay for, and monthly, I think. And so he said that area would be an essential location to provide coverage in the chosen area and build further sites to improve coverage along the areas right now that really aren't getting any coverage. And then the other one is another, I don't think it's really going to affect us, but it's sort of on the far side of Royal Bay. His comment about the one near Olympic View, he said it would be extremely helpful to cellular connectivity in the area, and we can discuss how Rogers can support site location through presentation to local council, a letter, or finding time to visit the community. I have spoken to him about possibly coming with information, like they're in Vancouver, coming with information on Metchosin Day, and maybe trying to drum up some ideas about location there. So that's about all I have from Rogers. I was in contact with TELUS as well, but unfortunately the fellow that I would be talking to is on holidays, so that's going to have to wait until the next report.
Okay, well that's a good update. Thanks for that. We'll turn now to the Active Transportation Network Plan, an update on the Metchosin ATNP engagement approach from Urban Systems from July 23rd. Now, Councillor F, did you want to speak to this, or should we get CAO Payette?
I sure will. Either.
and then you can speak afterwards.
Thank you through the chair. I'm not shy. I can break the ice here. Can have a good chat about it. This is good news. We're moving ahead nicely with the active transportation plan. There's excitement. Staff are eager to get going. Councillor Epps doing a great job on the liaison, and tonight we wanted to bring forward the engagement approach to the public. So in front of you is an overview, and I'll just get right into the phased approach for early engagement, and I'll just kind of briefly go through each of the cells on the table, and then we can have a chat. So the company, Urban Systems, WSP is doing the other study, sorry, for the asset management. So Urban Systems, they're proposing to do a survey in September, and it'll be a community-wide survey, and so it'll be online, and it'll be questionnaire and then some mapping, and it'll give everybody a chance to have their input, which I think is excellent. In October, they're recommending pop-up events where they would come on site and people can approach and look at data, maps, and things, and have a good chat, and we can get clean information from the public through the pop-up events. And then over to the next page, in October, there'll be stakeholder meetings, and there's a list of stakeholders, our neighboring municipalities, and then a number of advocate groups at the bottom. So BC Transit, Moody, CRD, ICBC, and so on. And then followed by social media, so information on the various socials that would be appropriate. And then an engagement summary in late October to prepare a summary report on phase 1 engagement insights to present to the district and publish on the district's website. And of course a council update in the later part of October. It's all yours.
Well, I think the most exciting thing is that when we were speaking to Dan Casey, who's the head of the plan, is that he has agreed that they will come to Metchosin Day and set up so they're really saying that they have a pop-up community event in early October. They would move that ahead. They move the survey ahead a bit too, to try to get the survey out there before this, and then come and set up. We're figuring in the council chambers here that we can have all their information up so that there'll be a lot of people and we can get them channeled into here so they can, it'd be a really good way to get people's opinions on the whole thing. So I think that was the most exciting thing about this, the whole engagement strategy and the plan. On another topic, if I can, on transportation, is that as far as the Duke Road, I did want to provide an apology. We I had hoped to have a walkable shoulder pilot test along the east side of Duke Road, which would have involved moving the shoulder lines, the fog lines, and narrowing the roadway, but giving walkers and so on more room on the shoulder. However, we just had it was just a glitch in communication, unfortunately, so it didn't get done this year, but we have had discussions on what happened and how we can alleviate those kind of things from happening and next year and in other ways. So I think it will be coming at some point, just it'll be a little more delayed than we had hoped. On a happier note, the crosswalks, as was mentioned earlier, the one out here is great. Public Works crew did a great job of getting that one in, and also that finally the third crosswalk for the Goose Crossing near Matheson Lake is also done, which is very exciting. It's those crosswalks. Goose crosswalks were something that I was really hoping to do when I first got elected. It's only taken me 6 years, but Hey. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically all I have. I think, and I appreciate the efforts of staff to get those done. And we have some more road safety items coming up that we're hoping to get done, but we'll talk about those actually when they're done. Thank you.
Okay, good job. Councillor Epp, then Councillor Donaldson. Or sorry, Councillor Schuck and then Councillor Donaldson.
Okay, Councillor Epp, thank you for the update. Mr. Payette, thank you for the update. I understand there's a smaller internal group who's been formed. So PTASK, for example, has a member, David Shanks, who's been assigned to a body. Now, I don't know if it's an advisory group or he's just connected to the process, or?
Yeah, go ahead. No, not really. It's just that, we basically are the liaison with urban systems, and then we just keep David informed about what's going on, but there's no particular group. So.
Okay. PTASK has great. Okay. PTASK has expressed interest in this, and I'm new to the committee, just being elected in October 2022. But I have to say, PTASK itself has been in the active transportation game for like decades now. So if urban systems can come at any point, and we're happy to lend a hand, and even just get briefed up, and so.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to, representatives from PTASK can come to that when Urban Systems is here set up. That'll be a really good chance to engage.
Great. One caution: the vegetable and baking contest tends to stake a claim in the chamber. So just keep an eye on that. It'd be great to talk with Leo and Judith Van Manen is running those things. So.
Good plan. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll find somewhere for you.
Okay. Great.
Okay, Councillor Donaldson.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, good work on the crosswalks. So that's been a long time coming for sure, especially with the Galpin Goose. I was just wondering if we have a cost of what the crosswalk is in the village for. I don't recall that being in the budget, so I don't know what the outcome of it was.
I don't know what the cost is, but whatever it is, it's coming out of the road safety fund.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I wondered, and maybe through the chair to the CEO, who's the staff person who's guiding us and managing the contract?
Councillor Epp, do you know that? The staff person at Urban Systems?
No, I'm thinking about the District of Metchosin staff person who's managing this contract.
That would be the CAO.
And so is Mr. Payette then the staff person? When it goes through the document, it talks about all these different jobs. Is the planner involved, or I mean, it's a planning job, so I sort of was thinking the planner might be the staff person, but through the chair, may I ask?
I would think that the CAO would decide based on whatever information that it would be the planner or himself.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question. So today we've had team meetings on this project, and it involves myself and staff, appropriate staff, and Councillor Epp. And then as we move forward, we have our new planner, so if there's a planning element, she'll be brought in onto the team, but we have to maximize her time. She's only here a certain number of hours a week, so to date we haven't needed her. But as we get closer to the time, I'll engage the planner, and so myself and Public Works Supervisor and Gord, I don't know what his position is called, everyone knows Gord, so, and myself and Councillor Epp. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I'm just concerned because we've gone through a couple of big contracts without staff involvement at all. And so this is critical, and I appreciate your leadership, Mr. Payette. Thank you. Then, when I look at the first set of first boxes, I guess, about the community-wide survey, Urban Systems would prepare the survey, and I think we've learned now, or I've certainly learned for the climate survey and looking at the agricultural survey, we need to have somebody in the district have their eyes on that survey and approve it before it goes out. I don't think it needs to be council, but I would like it to be a survey that's fashioned for our community, not one that's fashioned for urban systems. or urban locations. So if we might amend this just a bit to say that you or somebody would be involved to make sure, maybe the committee you've just talked about could be involved to review it. I'm kind of thinking of things like making sure there's emphasis on biking, walking, rolling to bus stops. I don't know what's in the plan, what would be there, but in an urban setting, rural setting, that's terribly important for us. Or things around the schools, both the Hans Augustin School, where trails have been proposed in the past, but also the Montessori School. And then we heard on the Duke Road East Trail, a number of people spoke about that, saying when the bus comes to pick up their kids to go to school. So I'd like to see all those things wrapped in, and hopefully Urban Systems would have that all nailed, but I think someone's review of that would be a good idea. Sensible?
Yeah, I agree. And this isn't Urban Systems' first rodeo. They're experts, for sure, but there is a certain nuance to Metchosin, and so for sure we'll have local input on the questionnaire.
Thank you. Another question I had was, and perhaps this goes to somebody else, but if we flip the page, it talks about stakeholders. Surely the public is the biggest stakeholder. What's meant by that? It's just a list of people to talk to, I suppose. Anyway, that would be language, I guess, from other work they've done, but I'm not sure how it fits here. And then I think you've answered the other questions I had in terms of who would be working on this and the staff side, basically the team. Great. I appreciate that. I think that's really important. I wanted to just get it clear from the get-go. Thank you. So I had a comment about the first issue there, community-wide survey. So if we plan on a community-wide survey, and I've just gone through a whole experience at the CRD with the water board about a survey that we put out, there's a real problem if we just put it on the web and put it on Facebook and tell people come and answer a survey. We will have a selection bias. So whoever chooses to answer that or happens to see it, then they may respond. But we aren't going to get a community-wide survey that way, I don't think. We could do a little better, and I think it's worth it in this circumstance, to do a mail-out to every household. Let everybody know this is going on, make sure they know about it. I've heard from a couple of residents, only two, but a couple, saying they don't use computers or the internet, and they would hope that they have ways to, they weren't talking about this survey, but the other ones, they would hope there would be an opportunity to provide input without having to go to a computer or having seen it on the computer. So I want to advocate that these surveys, there's one, community survey 1 and 2, be mail-outs to our residents. And the second part of that is I would like it to not be anonymous. So when people stand up here at council to speak to us, they tell us their name and where they are. And it seems to me if we're going to take input from the community, it'd be good to know where people are from, that they're from here in fact. They're not online, but they're from some other place. So I'm interested in that, and I would make a motion in that regard if that's appropriate. That the Active Transportation Network plan community-wide surveys be mailed to all households and that respondents be asked to provide their names and street address.
Okay.
This is for transparency purposes and for us to get the best response possible.
Does anybody have any questions? Do you want to second? Anyone want to second this motion?
I'll second for question.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, would that be within their budget, Councillor? Do you know?
I don't know. That would be quite a significant cost.
I recently contacted the Muse about putting an insert in, and although I recognize that it goes beyond Metchosin, but we had, you put your name as to where you live, that was actually quite cost effective. It's just a little over $200, so it'd be interesting to have that conversation.
It's also how they would get the responses back. Like, do we have to send another, self-addressed stamp envelope or whatever, or it's.
I'm thinking not. Simply, a letter that goes out can tell them to enter it online, even just that we reach them by contact, and then they know they can come in and drop off something here. I wasn't thinking of being so elaborate that everybody had to fill it in by hand, but just getting the information out there and back to us. So, and I think the cost is quite low to do a mail out. It's a small amount of money, and if it's not within the context of the urban systems contract, then I think it, in terms of the value here to us, it's worth paying for.
CIO Pat, do you have any idea how much it costs to send out the tax notices?
What is a stamp nowadays? $1.20? So multiply by 1,700. So about $2,000 for a mail out.
Okay.
I mean, it is effective. You get quite a bit more information. It's just that we'll have to add that to the budget, but that's not a lot of money to add to this budget. We'll have another surplus for sure this year. So I mean,
so the mail out would go out with the survey or a link to the survey, and then people would send their responses into the district for it to be collated.
I would assume we'll get all kinds of different input back. We'll get hard copy. We'll get people on the website. It'll generate a whole bunch of different responses. But mail outs are definitely going to hit every household.
Okay, Councillor Shuker.
The concern I would have with the mail out is if you're asking residents to fill out a hard copy survey, there is going to be the process of putting in that data, and that's an extra cost as well. I would support an insert in the news or advertising. I'm not super sure I like the idea of a mass mail out, and especially with, again, the follow-up. Not until maybe I had heard more from urban systems in terms of what their experience is. Public opinion polling is a really tricky thing, and I've been part of mail outs before, and we had something like, if you got a 25% uptake, you're over the moon. So it might be a little different in this community, but I'm not sure it's the best use of funds. So.
Okay, Councillor Dow.
Yeah, I think I'd like to speak with urban systems about the process, because as Mr. Payette said, we have done this many times in various different in urban and rural communities. So I think they probably have the best idea before us just going ahead and doing this without discussing with them.
Yeah.
That's great.
I appreciate that. Sorry, and just to be clear, I'm talking about the mail out goes out, but then it just tells people, here's the survey online, and then those that aren't familiar with using the computers, that they can come in and fill in something else. I wasn't suggesting a mail out be as complicated as having to re-enter all that data. There may be a small number of people. I couldn't imagine it would be too many, but again, it's the notion of kind of putting life to the words of being open and transparent and getting the best results that we could. So that's the rationale for the motion, not to trip things up at all.
Okay, go ahead.
So we don't have a seconder for the motion.
We did.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
Councillor
Of course, yeah.
seconded it.
Can I make an amendment? I can move an amendment to say following discussion with urban systems.
I'm going to call the question on the amendment then. Following discussions with urban systems, all in favor? All those opposed? I'll call the question on the main motion. All in favor? Opposed? So the main motion is for the mass mail out. Okay.
Pending discussion with urban systems.
Pending discussion with urban systems. All in favor? All opposed? All opposed. Okay. Mayor Little opposed. Great. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to pick up on a previous point of discussion around stakeholder meetings. So it seems to me like in terms of engaging the public, we're on a good road. We're going to do the survey. There will be pop-up events. There's going to be social media presence. But I just want to flag one thing. I think a key stakeholder missing on this list here is Parks and Trails Advisory Committee. And it should be great to add them, because I feel like there's their knowledge and experience of trails, roadside trails, parks just is an invaluable asset to contribute to this committee, to the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's really important.
Yeah. Councillor Dahl.
And would we also include Shannon First Nation?
It's on the bottom.
Is it? Oh, okay. Oh, there it is, sorry. I just didn't see the rest.
Did you want to make that motion, Councillor Shukin, to add PTAS to the stakeholders group?
Sure. So,
Yep. And moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Okay.
I'm also aware of a group on Salt Spring Island who apparently have really similar situation to we have, which is skinny roads and all that stuff. They're called Island Pathways. So maybe we could just commend that to Sherry, the Councillor, that they're worth talking to. I don't know if they need to be stakeholders, but Urban Systems may well know them already. But they're in the same struggle we're in, which is not much in the way of pathways for people to walk on. And they've been working on it for quite a while now.
Okay, thank you.
The other,
Yeah, go ahead.
the other question I had was, again, Liz, looking at how we're managing things. The pop-up events, I think there's some utility if again, this is just an idea to pass on to Urban Systems, but we're going to do, or there's going to be a pop-up event tonight with, or pop-in, pop-out?
community input session.
Yeah, this evening, same, which is what I think these are, community input sessions. And it sounds like it's a neat setup. So there's, if I take it properly, a facilitator, and then residents can speak to the issue or ask questions, and everybody will hear the answers together. So it's kind of an efficient way of working. And I'm just making a suggestion to the Urban Systems that maybe when they do these open style events or the pop-ups, that they consider the notion of a single microphone so that they can get, everybody can hear the question, everybody can hear the answer, as compared to everybody getting different questions and different answers. I think it will, I'm really impressed with what you're working on tonight, so I think it's a neat idea to think about in the future for this event. Again, that's just a concept for worth chatting with people if they like that. And then I had a final point, which was at the very end, we get to the council presentation where the draft ATNP comes forward. We have a lot of community input. I was wondering about the idea of when, let's say we get that back and okay, it looks pretty good, seems pretty reasonable. Is it worth like looking at it, we receive it, we might have some comments, we might not at that stage, and then moving to receipt or whatever we do, whatever changes we would like to see, and then having a following meeting where the public can actually come, like the event tonight, and say, oh, now we've got a final piece, this looks great, or you've missed some stuff, just to get us that final view of the public. Because that's at the very end. They may have put in comments early on, but they'd see the package at the end. So that's an idea. Perhaps I can just make a suggestion for it tonight, that we think about that as it's coming to us. The way of getting we'll be in the public base in the same boat as ourselves and just getting a final look at it. I like the idea of what we're doing with the trail now, so it would rhyme.
And the public would have two opportunities at that point, because it would come to the Public Works Committee, and then it would go to council. So there would be two opportunities.
That's a great way to think of it. Thank you. Okay.
Turning now to some of the pinks, we have new business, the draft correspondence regarding Kruger predation on sheep in Metchosin, and we've got a motion there. The letter is on page 3 of 31 of the first package. This is the letter to Honorable Pam Alexis and Honorable George Heyman regarding BC Conservation Officer Services and Kruger predation in Metchosin. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you take us through who was seeing the letter and what their comments are and how it was developed?
Yeah. I wrote the letter. I got some assistance from some friends regarding edits, and I sent this to both MIASC and to the Agricultural Committee. The chair of MIASC sent back a response he thought was great. We had one other member of MIASC that commented, and I included some of those comments. And then the Agriculture Advisory Committee Chair also wrote back and said, it looks great. And staff have did it obviously. Councillor Brown.
I think the letter's fine. I just had one comment about it. It was the part that said delays in officers' response time often results in more sheep kills and the community on edge as to when and where the next strike will occur. I mean, maybe farmers are on edge, but I don't know that the community as a whole is on edge about the cougar strikes. I mean, it's fine to leave it in, but I just...
Should I change that to farmers then, instead of community?
Or the agricultural community?
Agricultural committee?
Yeah, because mostly they don't tell people about them to keep it all quiet, so it's not known in the public.
Yeah.
So is that okay with the agricultural committee?
Yeah.
Well, I'd be happy with that.
Okay. Councillor Donaldson?
I agree that it's important to farmers, but also there are residents. A neighbor of mine actually stopped by cougar in February. So that's just one incident. Actually, it's interesting. My other neighbor above me had an encounter as well, but that was on a public trail outside of our particular neighborhood, where the cougar kill was the day we were doing our photo shoot. So neighbors and residents of this community are also on alert. So I think it's okay to keep it there. Certainly it is farmers that are antsy as to when is the next. So it's broad.
Okay. Councillor Gray?
Yeah, those examples aren't quite what we're writing about because we're talking about sheep kills, not if people are getting confronted by cougar, those need to be called in separately. So I'm sort of supporting Councillor Oak's change there. I wondered about something else just a little bit further in the letter. And this is just me, again, others have a different view, but at the governance level, I would say we want to see quick response. Since quick responses from conservation officers is vital to the agricultural viability of Metchosin, we'd like to see that happen. But tell them just exactly how to meet, like I say, we tell them what, and then let them decide how they get the quicker responses here. Because when I asked the question of the conservation officer, he said adding officers isn't going to help. It sounds like it's the matrix. It's the decision-making thing along with all the other priorities they've got. So I'd hate for them just to say, oh, no, we can't do that, and that's the end of our input. So I'd be more likely to mention the problem and what we think is the better response times, and then let them sort out how.
Anyone else? Any comments? Okay.
On the first page I can mention, it says hobby farms and grazing fields. I think it'd be nice if, because we're writing the Minister of Agriculture, we might say hobby farms, market gardens, and grazing fields, because that's our other big type of agriculture here. Down below it talks the impacts for small farmers in the second paragraph, and I just crossed the word small, remove the word small, because it's actually our largest farms, the Buchanan's farm and the Mitchells, who have the largest number of kills, it seems like. So if we include all farmers, and don't just say it's the smallest farms, because they're not the ones that were written letter about specifically.
Okay, Councillor Gray?
Yeah, I was thinking the same and actually eliminating the word hobby, honestly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of farms are not making a living. Like say maybe the Buchanan's are, they're the largest producer on the island, and the pig farm also is the largest swine farm on the island. But the others are contributing. They're not making a living out of it. What I do is not a hobby.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I almost feel like we could combine some of the edits that Councillor Gray made, strike hobby, and I don't know if there's a place for small scale agriculture, but I think one of the words, I forget exactly what it was, I thought it was a good edit. Yeah, so,
Okay.
but I agree, I think good to remove hobbies.
Small scale agriculture is good, and farmers is good. Sure.
Okay. Great.
The other thing that at the bottom of the second paragraph, it talks about habituation. And I think we heard that's not really clear if it's habituation or just opportunistic kills by these. I guess habituations means you don't kill it if there's a first kill.
I was just using the language that the farmers were using.
Yeah, what the conservation officer, he called problem cougars, he defined them as, he specifically said not habituation, but proximity of kills to public spaces, cougar kills during the daytime, and multiple kills without feeding on the kill, the young cougar families. So I just pointing that out, if you want to make an alteration, but the point is, the ones that are coming back, I guess, is what habituation means to me. The other thing I wondered about was relocation. That's the one thing that we heard they don't do it. Do we want to push for that?
Councillor Donaldson.
So, two things. The habituation, that also came up when Mr. Powell's came to one of the talking box sessions here, and he referenced it as well. So they can become habituated. We did see that when the bear kills were happening just a couple years before, where the bear did return and actually went to a neighboring property from mine to the Bacon's property. So they do keep coming back until you do deal with those. And since we have dealt with the one family, we've not had nearly the problems. Granted, we can't prove it, but it appears. What was the second one?
Daytime kills. So I guess that's not habituated. That's if there's a daytime kill, they'll remove it.
And the second thing that he talked about was relocation, which they said they just don't do.
They don't. No, we inquired about that after our bear kill, and it's my understanding is you putting the bears do eventually come back to their territory, but you're putting a situation into another community, so they try not to do that. Their work is about conservation, so it's working with the animals in their natural habitat closest to where they live until it is a threat to humans.
Okay. Thank you for those comments. I
Just
appreciate it.
one final sentence. I think we've already been discussing it with the staff of the minister, so it might be worth saying something about we appreciate the conversations we've had with conservation services, and we welcome the opportunity. Just so that's recognized. It was really nice of the different people who've spoken to us to come and help us understand the problem a bit better.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you want me to make?
This motion, should we restate it?
No, I think we don't really need a motion, but
Okay, it's
well,
written.
yes, there is a yeah. Go ahead. That'd be great.
That council approve the draft letter, including the input from the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee and the Environmental Advisory Select Committee, to the Honourable George Hyman, Minister of Environment and Climate Action Strategy, and Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Food regarding cougar predation on sheep in Metchosin, BC Conservation Officer Service. They didn't actually put Alexa in here. Okay. You want her name in there? It says ministry, but not a person.
Okay. I'm Alexis. Yeah.
And I think we should add per the amendments discussed.
Per the amendments. Yeah. And that's seconded by Councillor Peck. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you. Moving on to correspondence from Councillor Andrea Wardman from the Township of Esquimalt. This is regarding an expression of interest Community Advisory Group Primary Care Network Steering Committee. So she's written to all of the municipalities asking and exploring to see if anybody here has any interest in participating in a new network group being developed with respect to healthcare in our region. So if that's just for your information, if anybody is interested in that. Andrea is a new councillor in the Township of Esquimalt, but she also works for Island Health. Okay. Yeah.
I'd be happy to be involved, but I actually want to, but perhaps Councillor Epp would like to do it from Happy Communities, I'm not sure.
Well, it seems like being a doctor, you'd be the logical person.
It might be, it might not be.
So who would like to do it? But you don't have to. If anybody would like to do it, that would be great.
I'm fine if you'd like to be involved in that.
It would be a learning opportunity for anybody, but I'm happy to do it if you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, I'll get in touch with Andrea then and say
That's
hi, and I'll keep it posted what happens. It sounds like it might be just a part of helping sort out how we might have input, so I'll let you know what comes.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Councillor.
Then we have correspondence from Miss Bonnie Boober regarding the front entrance, Barb Sawatsky, as well as Alvaro Yoakum. So we'll take that as for your information. And then we have the correspondence from Mr. Owen Clark regarding the a number of things regarding finances there as well. I've already read that before. There is the work plan for the District of Metchosin Active Transportation Network that you all received as well. And then of late, we have a letter from Mr. Dean Palka regarding the proposal for the main entrance for the school. And then finally, we have two other letters from Bev Bacon and Kiera Kahakvila regarding the main entrance and the village square. So with that,
could I just ask why we had a special summer meeting?
we had a special summer meeting. I had explained that in the beginning. The mayor has the right to call a special meeting at any time. That's one. I think that's.
That was more the reason rather than of course,
so,
the ability.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. And the second reason is based on Councillor Epp's compelling comments at the last meeting. I have the right under the community charter to bring back an item for a rediscussion and revote. And so I invoked that and asked for that to be brought back, and it's within the 30 days. We also have all of August off, so there's no opportunity in August. And so we also wanted to make sure that we have the rising report with the officer appointment of the chief financial officer, because our CEO was going on vacation in early September. So I wanted to get all of that in. Another reason was we added the cougars with the predation cougar problem letter to here, because there's not a lot of sense in putting it out in September when there is an election, but also when there's less of a problem with cougars. Okay.
So we didn't actually, we didn't reconsider the motion.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so with that, I'll take a motion to receive the information as cited. Moved by Councillor Schuppen, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I think that's it.
Mayor Little, I would move adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Schuppen, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.